Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Coffee with Interns. I am very excited to be joined by Simi this week. She is doing an internship and she is going to tell you all about that. But I will introduce myself real quick before I hand it over. I am Erica O'Toole. I am an assistant director in the Career Development Center, and I work primarily with our College of Education and Human Services, as well as our First Impressions program. So, we're getting really close to starting the fall semester. We're very excited to have students back, and I'm really excited to have Simi on today. So, Simi actually works right around my office, right around the corner. She works at one of the desks for a department right next to ours. So I see her all the time, but I never really get to have a good conversation with her. And so today, I get to have coffee with her live while talking to her about an internship that she is completing. And as we do every week with Coffee with a Career Coach, Coffee with Interns, Coffee and Careers, all of the episodes, we talk about what we have in our coffee. So today, I am actually drinking iced coffee from Starbucks in my Career Development Center mug. We got these really cool mugs this semester. And Simi also has one for being a guest this week for us. So I always have my iced coffee with my almond milk. So that's what I'm having today. So Simi, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So hi everyone, my name is Simi Agunloye. I'm currently a senior here at Central Michigan University, majoring in sociology with a concentration in criminal justice and minoring in psychology. And yeah, a few my past involvements here.
That's That's awesome, Simi. And actually, I can still hear you in the stream, but I have lost your picture. Technical difficulties, it's awful. But there we go. I got you back.
Hey.
I think we're all set. Cool. So I am, like I said, super excited to have you because you have a really interesting internship and an interesting journey to your internship as well. And so I'd really like you to share some of that. So if you can discuss the process of finding your internship for us.
Okay, so yeah, over this past summer, actually in May, I started working at the office with Senator Stephanie Chang. She's the senator for District 1 in Detroit. Before I got my internship, I actually did not have any plans for this summer. Mostly I thought that I was going to be working like with orientation and that was like my main like priority. And I ended up talking to Matthew, who also works in like Erica's department as well, and he kind of was giving me advice about like my future aspirations and kind of like what I wanted to do. And he told me that.
Okay, Simi, for some reason, something went wrong on your stream. We're going to have to get you back here. I'm not sure what's going on with the internet that we have you going on. Hang on just one second. We're going to get you back, and we should be able to get you back in the stream in just one second here. I apologize for the technical difficulties, everyone. Unfortunately, that happens from time to time, and I'm sure in Mount Pleasant, we had a big storm last night, so I'm sure the big storm did not help our case today. So give me just one second, and I will get Simi back and talking about her internship. In the meantime, you have me to talk to for a second. If anyone has questions in the meantime, too, during these live streams, we love to get questions for our interns. So if while we're trying to get Simi back here, if you want to ask us any questions in the chat, Once we do get her back, those are questions that I can then share with her and discuss. So, as we're going here, if you do have any questions for her about maybe how she got her internship, obviously you haven't heard a ton about it yet, but any generic questions about internships, I'm happy to share those with her. So please feel free to go ahead and share those in the chat. In just a second, we'll go ahead and get her back in. Within our office in the Career Development Center, internships are such an integral part of the job search process. We know that students really have so much success in finding jobs when they do an internship. And so I'm so glad that we've been doing this whole series with Coffee with Interns, because I think it's really been showing how important it is for our students to be out there, to be getting internships, because it really does help our students in the long run, help them make these connections and help them get these internships. And look at that, we have Simi back. So I apologize, Simi, I'm not sure what's going on with our internet. Like I was saying, we had a big storm, so that could also have had an impact on our internet. So please discuss your process of your internship. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I understand. So I spoke with Matthew because I was telling him that most of my plans and most of the things I was talking to him about were like more so leaning towards like my senior year. Like, what am I gonna do for the summer of my senior year, and like what internship am I gonna have? And so he was telling me the importance of having an internship, at least for my junior year. And he connected me to Jacqueline Ramsey, who is my supervisor at my internship. And funny enough, Jacqueline used to go to Central Michigan, and she was also in some RSOs that, partnered with my RSO. And then it got even scarier because when I spoke with Jacqueline, she told me that she knew my mentor, Caitlin, because I was her mentee. So the connections kept aligning, and it was just interesting. So I had my interview with Jacqueline. It was kind of just like a conversation, getting to know me, wanting to know like what my interests are and if I was a good fit for like the role. And after talking to her, she gave me the okay. We did an interview, and it was pretty good. I forgot to tell people like the title. So I am the outreach and engagement intern at State Senator Stephanie Chang's office. So that's what I do.
That's so awesome. And I love that you talk about networking, because we stress networking so much in our office. That's a perfect example, right? One thing led to another, led to another. I mean, all these connections just built up for you. So what a perfect example.
It was an amazing experience. I was surprised.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the day-to-day duties of your internship.
So some of the day-to-day, because I was virtual, so I wasn't able to do a lot of things like in person. But for me personally, some of the things that we had to do was like making constituent calls. So like they would give you like a list of people depending on like whatever the situation is. Let's say like one thing I remember for sure my first time working there was that we had to do wellness calls, which is kind of like just calling community members and reaching out to them, letting them know that the senator is here and she cares, and she wants to like engage with them. And so I did a lot of constituent calls, and then you'd have people who would talk about like what's going on in the community, or like what needs to be done, what needs to be improved. And then we're kind of playing mediator, because you're going back and forth between the senator and the people, because you want to make sure that everyone's being heard. So for me, I had like a lot of phone calls where we did like a lot of constituent calls, wellness calls. I know over the past month they had like that thing that happened with flooding, and so we did a lot of like FEMA applications and stuff, like helping them with that. I also did a lot of unemployment applications. I was really surprised about that. It was really fun. I didn't think I would ever help with unemployment, but that was cool. And that was pretty much what my day-to-day was. And then we also had like a lot of meetings, like community meetings that you would just go to. You take detailed notes about like the 3 main point takeaways that you could kind of get from the meeting. And that was about it, at least for me personally.
Okay. So you did get a lot of different experience, maybe because of the pandemic too.
Yeah. I believe the pandemic played a huge role in that as well.
Interesting. Okay. Awesome. So what would you say then out of all of that? I mean, that was a lot of different things. I think probably day to day was so different for you. Um,
Right.
what would you say is one highlight and then maybe one challenge of your internship?
Okay, so I would say like the highlight of my internship was actually just being able to like work with people, if that makes sense. Like I understood just by working at this with my internship that like I wasn't only just helping myself, like I was actually helping to solve like a issue. And similar to like my job here at orientation where it's like, you're helping them find like different like stuff with orientation, like, oh well, I need to set a date or stuff like that. This was more like um, for example, we had this one man, he called about how his neighbor's tree had fallen into his backyard. And
Oh,
so, that was really interesting. And so I had to go around looking at like, what department in the Michigan's like government like works with like wanting to deal with like picking up trees and stuff like that. So that was really interesting. That was my highlight that like I was actually helping people like solve like issues and like it was like bigger than I am. So that was kind of cool, if that makes sense.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
like my highlight.
yeah. What would you say was like a challenge for you? Or maybe that was a challenge too.
That was a challenge. Funny enough, my challenge it was talking to people on the phone. Before like, obviously I work here, so I should have been used to like, you know, talking to people over the phone, but I was really nervous because you never really know who you're speaking to, what the situation is, and you always want to make sure that you're giving out accurate information and you're helping as much as you can. So that was something that I really struggled with because like sometimes I wouldn't have an answer. I wouldn't know what to really tell them. But then I had to understand that I had to be calm, get as much information as you can. And it's okay to let people know that, I don't know right now, but I'll get back to you. So that was something I had to learn as well. So talking to people over the phone, assessing the situation, making sure you're solving the problem. Those were like three things I could say were like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I think it's hard because I mean, definitely your classes and all of your work at CMU prepare you for these different internships, right? But that's
Right.
what we talk about why these internships are so important because it's nothing like being on the job, right? Because
No, it's
just
not.
like that tree example you just provided, nothing's going to prepare you for a tree falling in someone's yard and you having to figure out what do I do to solve this problem, right?
Right. No.
So, what a cool thing that you had so many different types of problems that you had to solve within your internship, and that you got all of this different type of experience. I love that. So, yeah, what a cool experience. What a cool internship. So, how kind of along those same lines, how have you applied aspects of your major or even your CMU journey to your internship?
So I would say that because I have like some
Oh, I think we're having some connection issues
note
again
taking
here.
is like
Oh, there we go. You're
note
good.
taking is something that's like very important. And so it made me just working at the office of orientation, it like allowed me to be very detail oriented. And then I was able to like, actually listen. Because before when I first came into college, like I was like I would always say that I don't think I was that much of a good listener. But since working here, I was like, okay, well, I'm listening to so many people, I'm taking down so many notes. I want to make sure I'm taking like solving as much problems as I can. That really prepared me for like my internship because basically what I was doing is more so just like being on the phone, making sure you're always on call, making sure you're listening to what everyone's saying, taking down anything like even as little as like the day that the thing happened or like where they live. You want to make sure you're taking down everything. So that really prepared me. I was like able to be very detail oriented and it wasn't like as stressful, you know coming in.
Definitely. So be having those details behind you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that works a lot.
yeah, definitely. And I think that that's something that, like I said, things that you learn or that you learn on the job maybe you can't be prepared for, but those classes are so integral to prepare you for those type of things.
Hmm.
Those skills that we talk about, those transferable skills that you can add to your resume for sure. And look at all the things you can add to your resume now from this internship. I mean, that's amazing.
Right.
So, how do you think that this internship then is preparing you for your future career?
Um, funny enough, after I'm done with my internship, since I'm a criminal justice major, I was going on to go hopefully get my master's.
Okay.
And at first, before my internship, I was really against public policy or public administration just because I didn't think I was good at it. But like this internship is like a lot of public administration, public policy. It like aligns with that kind of like thing. So it kind of like made me realize that maybe I wouldn't be so bad. Like if I go get my master's, I can kind of lean towards getting in like public administration or something.
That's
So,
awesome. Yeah, maybe,
it kind of is clearing a path for me.
yeah. Made you look at a completely different way.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, it's not that hard. It is hard, but it's not that bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that maybe you didn't think about before because you didn't necessarily see yourself doing it. But then when you're on the job, it maybe looks like something that's more in your realm.
Yeah.
Which is definitely why that's something like in our career development center, we always suggest doing like job shadowing too. Because,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes students look at something and they say, no, that's never something I want to do. And then they get doing it and they're like, oh, this is kind of something I want to do. Maybe it sounds like that's kind of what happened to you. So I'm glad that you said that because I think, it's definitely important, you learn about it in your coursework, but to go out and do it because then you really get the idea of, okay, this is what it's actually like to do something, even just to job shadow and watch someone else as well. So I'm glad you got that experience.
Thank
So,
you.
what is one piece of advice you would give to students that are looking for internships?
I would definitely say that, I mean, if you don't get an internship your junior year, it's okay. As long as you're getting any type of like experience, you can. But if you do, you should definitely, you know, try picking up an internship. Your junior year, it matters. But like I was talking to my friend the other day and I was telling her that, if you do want to get an internship, it doesn't necessarily have to be anything within your major, as long as you're getting that experience. And then, your senior year is kind of like the year that really matters, the year that you want to make sure that everything's like okay. But like with junior year, you want to take as many experiences and as you can. So that's what pretty much be my advice, is just like take any experience or any like opportunity that comes your way, just take it and go with it and make something out of it, because that's what I did. To be honest,
Yeah.
like I didn't think I was going to do public administration. I didn't think I would even ever intern with the senator, to be honest. It wasn't even within my interest at first, and then I finally did it and I was like, wow, like this is actually good. And like it just makes you like think better, and like opens up many more doors for you, and like things that skills you didn't even know you possessed just slowly start to like come out, and you're like, wow, it almost makes you feel like you can do whatever, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
So
think
that
the important thing is using those transferable skills, knowing how you can articulate those on a resume or articulate those in an interview to
mm-hmm.
transfer those to, your major or what you're going into.
Right.
But I like that, take things that are maybe a little bit outside your box that you can then relate to, what you're going into or your major.
Right.
But awesome internship, an awesome way of getting it, a lot of networking. I think that's huge for students. Don't give up if you're applying to a bunch of things and it's not working out. Use your resources, use your network, use the people that
Yeah.
you know, the connections that you have, because that's so important as well. So
Yeah, that is.
yeah. So, Simi, we're kind of getting to the end here. What is one piece of advice in general you would give to students now that you're kind of getting towards the end of your internship?
Honestly, I would just say, like I had said last time, really just take every opportunity. And like you were saying, make sure you network. Honestly, coming here, working at the office, I understand the importance of networking. It's okay. Like sometimes you just have to set your pride aside. I know some people don't like to network. I don't know, but like I think it's very essential. It helps a lot. It's always good to network. Make sure you have your resume ready, your cover letter ready, because you never know who you're gonna meet. So that's something that I pretty much learned. You should always just be ready, if
Absolutely.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Every job I've ever had, I always tell people this has been through networking. Sure, I've worked very hard to get where I am, I've built my resume up, I've been involved, but I've also networked a lot. And so I think, that's huge. Be prepared wherever you go. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to talk to. And so always put your best foot forward and be ready. So, Simi, thank you so much for being on with us today. I appreciate you working with us through some technical difficulties, but I think it's great for our students to hear about your internship, your journey. I love that. And I appreciate you having coffee with me today. And I love that I got to know you finally. I'm so close to you in my office. You're like right around the corner, literally. So it's great that I finally got to have a chat with you. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you have questions later on, feel free to put them in the chat on Facebook. We will be checking those. And join us again next week for another episode. So thank you all for joining us for coffee. Simi, thank you for joining me for coffee. And everyone, have a wonderful Wednesday.
Okay.